Hey, it feels different, right?
Hello and welcome to episode 25 of Fantasy Sports. Today I'm going to be getting into the divisional round as well as focusing on the conference championship matchups. I want to take a look at who won the past weekend as well as take a look at who I believe is going to win in the next week. Let's start first with my favorite team. I want to actually speak on the fact that I did very good this week. I believe I predicted every winner right. Which is very good for me because, as I had said in my previous podcast in the first week, or in the first week of the NFL playoffs, I predicted every single team wrong, except I think the Lions was the only team that I had predicted in the first round to win, and I did again in the second round, but that's totally besides the point. I want to focus on the here and now, which is I did good. But yeah, let's start with the Ravens and Texans. I went out and I've said the whole playoffs, and I will continue to say I believe the Ravens are going to win the Super Bowl. I believe they not only have the best team, but they have the best quarterback in the league right now with Lamar. And they went out there and proved that on Sunday. I mean, Lamar put up 4 touchdowns. He had 100 yards rushing. He had 250 total yards and 4 touchdowns, 2 rushing, 2 passing. He played a very good game. I think not that the moment was too big for C.J. Stroud. I think that defense is just it is what it is at some point. You know, you can't expect to go out and win every game, obviously, unless you're the Ravens. But not being able to put up a point on the offense, obviously they put up a field goal, but they didn't do anything other than that. They had the special teams return for a touchdown, which was the only form of scoring they did in the end zone. I don't think C.J. Stroud played a bad game. I think they weren't able to run the ball well. I don't think they had any really help on the defensive side until the second in the second half. Other than the first half, obviously they did. It was a tie game. But the Ravens really came out and just dominated in the second half. And I expected that. I didn't expect them to lose this game by any means. I did expect them to win. And I think with what I've seen from Lamar in the playoffs, obviously it's been a struggle for him to win games. I'm pretty sure he had a 1 touchdown, a 3 interception, or he was 1-3, in the playoffs. And I think he had 2 touchdowns and like 5 picks. He has not played well up until obviously the past game where he beat the Texans up pretty bad. But like I said, it's the Texans. They beat an injury-riddled Browns team. It's not really an impressive win, to say the least. I'm not saying it's not impressive. Obviously, the Texans deserve to be where they were. They played a fantastic first game. They played fantastic all year. But I think in this next game against the Chiefs will be a matter of whether or not they can get over that little hurdle. And then for the Packers-49ers game, obviously this was a really good game. It was probably the best game other than the Chiefs-Bills game all weekend. Really, really close, really down to the wire. The Packers had the lead 21-17 heading into the final 3 or 4 minutes. And then the 49ers went down and scored. We saw Jordan Love throw that, odd throw, crossbody over to Christian Watson. And Dre Greenlaw picked that off. I think that the 49ers are a very good team. I think Brock Purdy played an extremely well game. He played a very good game. He did everything right. He made all the right reads. He didn't make any turnovers or didn't have any turnovers. And he's not a system quarterback. I want to get that through. Obviously, it could be very apparent with the offensive weapons they have that it would be able to say that he is a system quarterback and Kyle Shanahan's offense. But he did everything right, and I think that's a majority of the reason they won the game. Obviously, the defense allowed their first rusher in over 52 games to go over 100 yards. I think, if anything, the Packers just showed how good they can be next year. Obviously, like I had said, maybe the young weapons, not enough film, whatever it may be, the fact that they didn't really have a lot of pressure on their shoulders was a part of the reason why they did so well. I believe that will be the same thing for next year. And if anything, they're just going to get better if they make off-season adjustments into personnel. But I really like their team. Jordan Love played a great game up until that throw, as well as the defense. Made a lot of big plays. And for the 49ers, I think going against the Lions, I think this is a sigh of relief almost. They pretty much, I assume they were planning for the Lions after, what had happened with the Buccaneers. I assume they had seen that the Lions, had pretty much were the stronger team heading up into that matchup. And obviously that showed when they beat the Buccaneers. But I think the 49ers are playing for them. I think this is a game, what I mean by reducing the pressure, I feel like the Packers, it's one of those things where you have the upset on your shoulders. Are they going to come out here? They just beat the Dallas Cowboys. That could have played a factor into, how they were playing, what they had on their mind. But for the Lions, they're a good team. They're a good team, not that pressure of getting upset. Obviously, a competitive matchup, and I'm very excited to see that. And as for the Lions-Buccaneers games, Baker played a really good game. He had 2 turnovers. 2 of the turnovers were kind of crucial. They only lost by 8 points, but it seemed as though the Lions were pulling away with that one earlier than later. I think the Lions played a very good game. Jared Goff played extremely well. He didn't have any turnovers. And if there's anything to say about what I believe the Lions can wind up doing, I do believe they can beat the 49ers. I believe their offense is better than the 49ers at this point. I do believe the 49ers have a great offensive weapons. I just don't believe their offense is as good as the Lions when it comes down to, really the nitty-gritty. I believe the 49ers have a good offense. I think their stats might be a little boosted by how bad they've beat teams in the past. But with that being said, I feel like the Lions have gone out there and in 2 weeks performed really well. They've been able to really showcase what they can do on both sides of the ball. A lot of big plays from the rookies like Laporta, Gibbs, and Branch. So I'm excited to see that Lions matchup. For the Buccaneers, I think they head into the offseason, and it's a little bit of a rough road for them. You don't know if Baker's coming back. You don't know if you want to do it again with Baker, especially if he brought you to the divisional round and it was, somewhat competitive. Where do you go from there? That's definitely intriguing to ask. I think when it's all said and done, they should re-sign Baker. I think they should give it another go. I don't know what happens with Chris Godwin. He had a pretty down year. He didn't do much. He did have 1,000 yards, but Mike Evans was the star of that team, and he's only getting older, and Godwin seems to have been the younger wide receiver, but he hasn't been producing like it since that leg injury. So a lot of questions on both sides of the ball, especially with the defense not playing a great part in that. And even though they do have a weak division, you question a lot about what they're going to wind up doing when it comes to the quarterback. So only the offseason can tell. That's always what I say. And then for the last matchup, the Chiefs-Bills, this was by far probably the best matchup for the week. Everyone was looking forward to this. I know I was looking forward to this. And the Chiefs won by 27, won by 3, but they scored 27. We saw the kicker Tyler Bass miss a field goal late in the fourth. He hooked it right. And we saw the post they kept doing with Stephon Diggs running across, and the fact that he had missed him on that little slant route and threw it in the back of the end zone. People are saying that's going to haunt the Bills. I think when it all boils down, I think the Bills were a great team this year. I think they had their own stretch of negatives where they lost a bunch of games, and then when they started winning, Stephon Diggs wasn't playing as good. So it all comes down to, again, the offseason, what they're going to wind up doing. It's kind of hard at this point to figure out where Sean McDermott lies as a head coach. I don't think he's going to get fired by any means, but when you continuously lose and don't make that hurdle to get over to the next step, I think it's a little confusing. I'm not so sure that the Bills are a great team. It's confusing. You see them always be preseason favorites because of how good Josh Allen is. And Josh Allen has played phenomenal in the playoffs. He has some of the best playoff stats you ever see from a quarterback. But it seems as though the defense and the coaching can never really properly get them to win a playoff game. But speaking for the Chiefs, went out there, put up 27 points. Playoff Mahomes is very real. I know everyone is rooting for the Ravens. At least I am. I'm not sure everyone, but I know I'm rooting for the Ravens to take down the Chiefs because they're pretty much a dynasty at this point. Obviously, not that there was a question if they were a dynasty before with the way Mahomes and Andy Reid and Kelsey had been playing. But I think at this point, looking at how they had a bunch of questions heading into the playoffs and especially myself questioning them as well, they just continue to perform. And it always seems like they know when the right time hits, when the cold weather hits, when the playoffs come, they know how to really turn on the gears and get it going in the playoffs. But, obviously we saw a great game from Mahomes. Pacheco got in the end zone. Kelsey got in the end zone twice. So they clearly seem to be way stronger and way more fluid on offense than they might have seen before with the wide receivers dropping and everything. But I'm excited for sure to see what they do against the Ravens. Focusing on the next matchups, we have the Chiefs and Ravens and Lions and 49ers. I believe the Ravens are going to win and then go ahead and win the Super Bowl. But I'm going to start with my bias for a minute. I think the Ravens are a very good team. I think their defense is going to give the Chiefs some problems. Obviously, like I've said, the Chiefs have struggled. So I think one of the biggest things is making them uncomfortable, making those wide receivers uncomfortable so that Mahomes really has to win this game. And on the offensive side of the ball, the Chiefs, I don't believe, are the strongest on offense. And I believe a lot of the strength with the Chiefs comes from L'Jarius Sneed in that secondary. And the Ravens as a whole in Willie Gay. I don't believe as a whole the Ravens really run through the strengths of their wide receivers. Not that they're bad, but they run through the fact that Lamar is who he is. The running game is what it is, and it opens up everything else. So I think the Chiefs are going to have a really hard time with the fact that even though L'Jarius Sneed is a lockdown corner, how is that interior and the linebackers really going to hold up against this run game and against the fact that, there will be a lot of play action going on? How can they control that? And for the Ravens, I think it really comes to slowing down Mahomes like it is every game. Can you stop Mahomes from winning this game? For the Lions 49ers matchup, I think this is going to be a game of defense. Which defense can play better? Whereas the Chiefs and Ravens, I believe, although it will be a little bit of defense, I do believe it's whose offense can play better. I think the Ravens defense is really good. I think the Chiefs defense is coming to its own, so it's a really offensive game, even though it could potentially, the Ravens defense is pretty much the best in the league. The Lions and 49ers, I believe the 49ers obviously have a great defense. The Lions have had a greater, a solid showing from defense. But it really comes down to which offense can produce more. I believe the Lions will be able to try to produce. I see a lot of their efforts being troubled by the fact that they have those two linebackers in Warner and Greenlaw in the middle. I think it slows down Gibbs. Gibbs obviously is a fantastic player, but when you have Fred Warner chasing you down, it's going to be hard, especially with that front in the run game. The Lions' offensive line is one of the best, which is why I think that's a benefit for them. And they do have Ward on the outside covering St. Brown, but it's a lot because a lot of the 49ers defense runs through the solid players they have, but clearly the Packers put up 21. And if you think the Packers are better than the Lions, even though they beat them, obviously the Packers beat the Lions on Thanksgiving. And then you bear the question, can the Lions beat the 49ers? I don't know. I think the 49ers are a really good team. I do think they are better than the Lions. But I think at this point, it's a matter of really which offense wants to go out there and produce more. Not wants, but will produce more. I think the 49ers offense is good, but they have their struggles. Will they continue those struggles? The Lions offense looks good. Will it continue to be good? Will the 49ers defense stop them? That's really the questions you have to ask when you look at this matchup. I think both of these matchups are really intriguing. I do have the Ravens coming out, and I do have the Lions upsetting the 49ers. That is a little personal preference. I would like the Lions to make the Super Bowl. I would love to see Goff versus Lamar. Those are my two favorite quarterbacks. I would love to see that. Do I believe in the Lions 100%? Do I believe in the 49ers 100%? But I believe that the Lions do have more potential to upset than the Chiefs have to upset the Ravens. And I'm excited to see that. So I would like you guys to let me know who you think is going to win, if you could do that. But for now, I do still have the Ravens winning the Super Bowl. I'm very confident with that. I would love to not see them lose. That'd be really upsetting with the support that I've been giving them. I think it'd be embarrassing on my end to have to watch them lose and then come here next week and talk about how I think the Chiefs, Lions, or 49ers are going to win. But with that being said, I appreciate you guys watching as always. And tune in next week where we get the Super Bowl matchup. We'll finally know who's playing in 2 weeks, and I'll get to talk about the predictions and take you through all the analytics of who I think is going to win. Thank you so much.